Okay, it's been about a year since my last sniper tier list, and I've had a lot of people asking for another. So I just want to get a few things out of the way at the beginning here. One, there will be no sunset weapons in this list. So no Revoker is not on here. I got like a million comments last time, but no sunset weapons. Also, no heavy weapons. I'm not going to be ranking Whisper or Darcy. Those are just heavy weapons, so I'm not really going to relate those to being a sniper. And lastly, this will probably make some of you happy and some of you will probably hate this, but I did rank every sniper on this list, but I'm not going to talk about the bottom two tiers in depth. I'm not going to go over each one in the bottom two tiers. This is mostly like one, just to save everyone some time since there are so many snipers in this game right now. And this video is already super long, as you can tell. And then two, let's be honest, we mostly want to talk about the viable snipers in the top couple tiers, so like not the dog water doo-doo ones at the bottom of the list, so we're just gonna skip those. I did still rank them. If you really wanted to hear about my thoughts on one of them, just leave a comment. I could tell you why I put it in those bottom two tiers. But yeah, anyway, the bottom two tiers are still ranked. I'm just not gonna go over them in depth. But with that out of the way, let's hop into it. Alright guys, so starting off this list, we are going to start in the B tier. You can see the other snipers I placed into the lower tiers. Basically, I feel like these either just don't have good enough perks or just don't do anything special that another sniper can't just do better. There are a few fringe ones like Omniscient Eye that I was probably like, I could see you moving up if you really wanted to, but yeah, anyway. Starting in the B tier, we have the Far Future, which originally came from Battlegrounds, I believe, but I'm not sure if you can still get it other than Zur or maybe from the like horsey game show mode. Actually, let me know in the comments if you can still get this because it is very solid. It can roll opening shot and moving target again, which when combined, I believe you can hit about 100 aim assists with mods on. So very good sniper. 45 zoom isn't too bad for most people. I prefer 40, but 45 is solid. It's a very good weapon. Personally, I think that what holds this back is that it needs either snapshot or better handling. If it had one of the two, I would definitely be a lot more on board with this sniper. But without those two, I still think it's a solid weapon, so I'm going to put it in the B tier. Okay, next up we have the Bite of the Fox. This is a 72 RPM sniper from Iron Banner. This can roll snapshot and opening shot, which you'll hear me talk about a lot in this list. I think it is the best combo of perks you can get, in my opinion. It also gets moving target, which isn't a bad option either. The main thing with this weapon though is that it has a chevron as a reticle, so like a little triangle. Some people like this. I personally do not, but I do know some people swear by it. But overall, it is a very solid weapon. It's not too hard to get. Nothing is super weird with its zoom or anything like that, so solid B tier for me. If you really like the reticle, I wouldn't blame you for putting it up like in an A tier, for example. Okay, next we have the Thoughtless, which is a Stasis 90 RPM sniper. And I believe it is the first on our list that is craftable, which is a huge plus. Now, because it has such a tiny reticle, I actually hate it. I hate this sniper. I'm not gonna lie. I would put it down in the dog water tier by itself if I could, but I'm not gonna be biased like that. But I will say, just trying to look at this reticle, it actually makes me motion sick. So I didn't want to use it. I've used it before, so I can still feel confident tiering it here. But I did not want to use it for this video because like I said, I do not like the reticle. But if you get used to the small reticle, it's actually a pretty solid weapon. It gets snapshot overflow, which is a pretty fun roll. It can also get firmly planted or perpetual motion as well. Those are probably more of what I would go for. I don't like the weapon, but it is pretty good. It has decent stats, decent zoom. I think the zoom is 46, so it's not bad. This is another one of those that if you like the reticle, you could probably bump it up. For me, I'm gonna leave it in the B tier. Next up, we have the Succession from DSC, Deepstone Crypt. This is a craftable kinetic 72 RPM, which is not too bad. I don't mind 72 RPM snipers. I don't think they're as good as the 90s, but I do like them in general more than 140 RPMs. I only put it down here because there are some other 72s I think are a bit better, but this one is solid nonetheless. This does have 50 zoom and access to snapshot, and then probably either moving target or firmly planted would be the next perks that I would go for. Overall, it has somewhat low handling, which is a big deal to me, and it just doesn't really stand out to me. I think the reticle is also kind of big compared to normal, so I have a hard time kind of seeing targets sometimes, especially if they're far away. I don't really love the reticle, so overall it just seems kind of average across the board, but it isn't a bad gun by any means, so I feel good putting it in B tier. Okay, next we have the Fugue 55, and honestly, I really like this weapon. I don't know why. There's nothing really special about it, but it just feels good. It has 50 zoom and doesn't have too many great perk options to pair with. It does get snapshot, but I do want to point out a sort of niche this weapon has, and that is like flinch resistance. This does roll with no distractions, and it does have an origin trait to deal with flinch. So if you were going to build like, I don't know, maybe a high resil, high stability, like anti-flinch kind of thing, if you wanted to go with that, I feel like this is probably the sniper you'd want to use because of the origin trait. I'm not gonna rank it like higher because of that necessarily, but I do think at the top of B tier is a good spot for this just because of that potential anti-flinch build that you could run. Okay, now we get into the A tier. So I consider these to be like slightly above average. First up, we have the Soul Survivor. So I have to be honest, this is one of the two snipers on this list that I don't have a ton of experience with. I did use a snapshot Eye of the Storm roll, which I think is probably the God roll. It actually felt pretty good. I will say this is another chevron like triangle reticle, which I do not like, but other than that, I hit some decent shots with it. I couldn't get any like crazy clips because I don't like the reticle very well. It's hard for me to use, but that's user error, not the gun. So I do think it lacks a good perk pool to sort of put with snapshot, but I guess Eye of the Storm is the go-to, but honestly, I don't really think it's that good on a sniper because like if you're taking damage, you're getting flinched, but I don't know, I'd have to give it another try. I guess I did use it for a good little while, but overall a good sniper. I actually really like it enough to put into the A tier. Okay, next we actually have the other sniper that I'm least familiar with, and that is a Distant Pull. Now this is the Taken sniper, so it looks pretty cool, so that's why I put it in A tier. No, actually this gun is pretty solid. It gets opening and moving target, decent handling. Actually felt great to use. It can be crafted, so it is a guaranteed God roll, which is a huge plus. It also gets keep away, which is very solid. Honestly, I really loved using it. I didn't even have a crafted one, so I'll definitely try to craft this. It's actually really good. I just couldn't personally put a sniper that doesn't roll snapshot like in one more tier higher, so I'm gonna leave it here in the A tier. Okay, next we have Twilight Oath, which was actually really hard for me to rank because the sniper is very good. It does get snapshot opening shot, and it can also get snapshot surplus. Both are very good rolls. With opening, you can pretty much hit 100 aim assist. It has very good handling. It wasn't too hard to get, so a lot of you probably have a good one. It also comes in at 35 zoom, so very low zoom, which is amazing. I know a lot of people really like it for that. Honestly, I would put this in S tier, but it is a 140 RPM, so I think that holds it back a bit. So for me, I'm gonna put it in the A tier here, but if you bumped it up to S tier, I wouldn't really mind that either. Okay, next up, we do have one that I may be a bit biased towards, and that is the Galu RR3. I don't know what it is about this sniper, but I just love it. I think it's the scope. It has 40 zoom, which is probably my preferred zoom, and the scope is just really clean. I really like the scope. I don't know, there's just something about this sniper. It doesn't have great handling, but it can roll snapshot and overflow, which is a ton of fun. I cannot get that to roll on this one though, so I'm kind of sad. It's hard to farm it. I think it's just a world drop, so you can't really target it, but definitely hang on to one if you get a snapshot overflow roll. It's really fun. Give it a go. It's not like the best in the game or anything, but I think it's really good. I really like it. Like I said, I might be slightly biased, but I am gonna put it in A tier. Next up is the Father's Sins. This is another craftable sniper, and it is also one of the few at 35 zoom, which is pretty solid. It has decent stats all around, but it is a 140 RPM, so again, I do think that holds it back a bit for me at least, but it is very solid. I think I'd personally go with snapshot under pressure. You can enhance them because it is craftable, but you could also go opening shot under pressure with like max handling if you wanted. For me, I will always run snapshot on a sniper. I'm not really going to use one that doesn't have snapshot, but I think you could get away with it if you wanted. Overall, very solid sniper with low zoom, kind of a unique option with under pressure. It can be crafted, so I think it's pretty good here in the A tier. Next up is the Supremacy from Last Wish. Now, this sniper has recently become craftable and has gotten some new perks, which is huge. It has pretty high base aim assist and decent handling. I can roll snapshot opening, which is amazing, and you could also use keep away opening if you wanted to. It does have somewhat of a low range stat, so keep away could help with that. It is a 40 zoom scope, which is awesome, and honestly, this is another one where if it wasn't a 140 RPM, I would probably put it much higher. I really wish Bungie would adjust them somehow. Like, I don't know exactly what they do, but for me, the 140s are just not it right now. So until they do any adjustment there, I'm going to put it in A tier, but it is extremely good. So you should definitely craft this if you haven't already. Okay, next up is the Silicon Neuroma. This was a Nightfall weapon, so it does have access to an Adept version and access to Adept mods. It can roll snapshot and opening, which is very good. I believe it has 43 zoom, so kind of a weird number there, but not too bad. Overall for me, I think it needs like max handling since it is kind of slow, but unfortunately it's very hard to farm Adept Nightfall weapons, like to get an absolute god roll. So for me, and I don't think it is even in rotation right now, you could probably get a normal one from the Vanguard, but for me it is a very good 72 RPM and it has access to snapshot opening, so I think I'm comfortable with it in the A tier. Okay, next up is the very top sniper I have in the A tier, and that is the Macabre. I honestly don't know how to say it like correctly, but I feel like I'm at least close enough, so I'm gonna go with that. I believe this was from the Festival of the Lost, so not currently obtainable at the time of this video, but I do think the sniper is excellent. It gets snapshot and opening shot. I think they actually just gave one of those away pretty easily last season, or like last year, so I think a lot of people do have that role. It has a decent range stat and it's overall pretty solid. I think the handling is a little low for me, like for my taste, but it does have a unique origin perk, which lets you scope in faster when you are not near teammates. I mean, you kind of want to be near teammates, but I mean, hey, it's still not bad as far as origin perks go. So definitely a pretty good positive there. Again, just another solid snapshot opening shot, 72 RPM. So I think it fits well at the top of A tier. Okay, now we get into the S tier. So now we're talking about the big dogs. All right, I'm gonna start off with something that I am somewhat biased towards. I do think this is one of my favorite 72 RPMs, and that is the Frozen Orbit. Just based on the stats, it doesn't stand out too much, but having access to snapshot and surplus just makes it feel really good. Having that handling buff from surplus is huge, for me at least, on a 72 RPM. It does get firmly planted and moving target as well, but like I said, I prefer surplus. It is easy to farm, but it's one of those weapons that has like a bajillion perks, so good luck getting the roll you want, but if you can, it is very solid with that snap surplus roll. Like I said, I really like this sniper. Maybe somewhat biased, I could see you knocking it down a tier, but for me, I'm gonna put it at the bottom of S tier. Okay, next up we have the Occluded Finality from Iron Banner. So this one is actually pretty good because there are several rolls that you could go with. I would always run snapshot, and then you can either get opening shot, Iron Reach, or what I would prefer is snapshot elemental capacitor, specifically if you're running arc, that way you can buff your handling. Now this sniper does have 58 zoom, 58. So when you scope in, you are looking like directly into your enemy's soul, so it's pretty jarring. I don't like it because of that, but it is pretty like crazy because of how zoom and like aim assist go together. I don't know, it's all very complicated, but basically this thing hits some crazy shots that probably shouldn't even happen. But yeah, so it does scope in, like it is very hard to see through this. It scopes in so far, but I mean, if you're like playing in the back or something, or you get used to it, it's actually a really crazy sniper. Hits a lot of shots that honestly shouldn't even happen. But anyway, because of all this, I'm gonna put it in S tier. Okay, next up we have our first exotic outside of Izanagi in the low tiers, and that is the Borealis. This sniper has 45 zoom and decent stats overall. Basically, the thing with the Borealis is that you can swap the elements between Void, Arc, and Solar. So I personally like Arc since it buffs the handling, and I believe the range as well. It's also very good on Void. I actually didn't know this until recently. One of my friends pointed out that when you run Void, it actually just straight up adds aim assist. Like it just buffs the aim assist, which is crazy. So I believe every time you die it switches to Void, which is nice. Well, if you like Void. But yeah, anyway, solid sniper. I would definitely recommend using Void for the extra aim assist or Arc for the extra handling. So overall, I'm gonna place it in sort of the middle of S tier. Next up, we have the 1000 yard stare from the Grasp of Avarice dungeon. This is a 90 RPM sniper that can get snapshot and quick draw, which is an amazing combo, and it's actually pretty rare. Not a ton of snipers can get that anymore. It also has perpetual motion and I believe firmly planted as well, all of which are pretty solid. I believe it has 44 zoom and the reticle is like, it's very blue, so if you can get used to that or if you prefer that, definitely give this sniper a try. Overall, it's just a very solid sniper at 90 RPM, which you are going to notice a theme here with that going forward, as I do believe that those are the absolute best frames. I don't even think it's close really. I do think the 90 RPMs are so much better than the other two. But anyway, 1000 yard stare, high S tier. And our final S tier sniper is the Adored. This cannot roll randomly, so you will have snapshot and killing wind, but don't sleep on killing wind. It is actually pretty decent even on a sniper. It does have 45 zoom and pretty decent aim assist. I do wish it had slightly more handling, but it is still pretty good. Overall, this is just like a good example of what a solid 90 RPM sniper looks like. It has a clean scope. I think the main thing holding it back though is just that it's a static roll. Like you can't get any perks or better barrels or anything, but the ones it comes with are pretty solid, so I'm gonna put it at the top of the S tier. Okay, now we enter the S plus tier. So these are the GOATs in my opinion. I'm gonna rank them in order in the tier itself, like I have been, but again, these are all amazing snipers, so if you like one more than the other and you disagree with like the exact order, that's cool. I think it's all up to preference, especially at this point. Anyway, starting at our S plus tier, we have the Uzum or Uzume. Now this was a Nightfall weapon, so it does have access to adept mods. It can roll snapshot and Vorpal, which is very good. I know a lot of people wanted that as their god roll, but I actually think snapshot high impact reserves is better, which is the one I do have. You can still one-shot supers with this roll, but you can also one-shot people out of a well. I don't think any other 90 RPM can do that because we even tested it on 10 Rezil, like a 10 Rezil Warlock and as well. And if you have a roll with high enough like reserve ammo, because of the way that high impact reserves works, basically I think you just need like a mag perk. You can one-shot someone in a well of radiance. So just something I want to point out there, because Vorpal does not do that. I also want to point out that it does have one of those scopes that kind of highlights people, so that is another bonus if you do like those. Another thing I want to point out is I do know that this sniper specifically is very good when it comes to like the whole cone angle aim assist thing, which is something I'm not really going to go into for this video since it is very confusing, and honestly it's not my area of expertise. I don't completely understand it either, but maybe someone in the comments can sort of give us a breakdown. But anyway, I do know that Uzum has like a very good cone angle thing. So with all that together, I'm going to go ahead and put it at the bottom of S plus tier. So next up in the GOAT tier, we have the Eye of Soul. Now this is probably my favorite sniper, and I definitely have the most kills on this compared to any other sniper. I probably have more kills on Eye of Soul than all other snipers combined, but I would rank it a little higher than this, but if I'm being objective, I'm gonna keep it here because I do think the next one might have the edge a little bit. Eye of Soul can get adept mods. You can get the adept version from trials, at least you could before. It has access to snapshot surplus or snapshot moving target, would probably be the go-to rolls for me. I personally use surplus. I also have an ensemble one that I really like. It does have 45 zoom. It just has very good stats across the board. If it could still get snapshot opening shot, or if you have an old snapshot opening shot, I think this is absolutely the #1 sniper, but since it doesn't, I'm gonna place it here sort of in the lower end of S plus tier. Okay, next up we have the Defiance of Yasmin from the Oryx raid. Like I said, I do prefer Eye of Soul over this one personally, and like in the kinetic slot, but This sniper is craftable and it does have access to snapshot opening shot, so I will give it the edge here. It does have kind of a weird scope, but it is pretty good once you get used to it. I really didn't like this sniper when it first came out, but once I gave it some more time, I actually think it's extremely good. It does get access to enhanced perks and it has 40 zoom, which is very nice. I think it's that sweet spot for most people. Overall, it's just, this sniper's a beast. I mean, it's a 90 RPM with 40 zoom, has access to enhanced snapshot and opening shot. It can be crafted. I mean, what else can you ask for? So I have it here in sort of like the dead center of S+ tier. Next up, we have a lot of people's number one, the Beloved. I do also love this sniper, and it is usually my go-to for trials. It does not get opening shot, but it does get moving target, which almost puts it at a 100 aim assist anyway if you're running mods. You can also run quick draw snapshot if you wanted. That is also a very solid role. I see a lot of people do that. I was using that for the longest time. I do know there is sort of a box breathing cult out there. I mean, I'm gonna be honest, none of the best players use that on their Beloved. I'm not hating on box breathing. I'm just like, do what you will with that information, okay? So anyway, there is some people who prefer box breathing, but personally, I would not use that. I would use moving target or quick draw. Overall, this is another 40 zoom, 90 RPM sniper, and it does get snapshot and moving target, so it buffs the aim assist a bit, and it is craftable. So here I have it at the number 3 overall. Okay, next up we have the number 2 overall sniper in my opinion, which is the new comp sniper, the Mercurial Overreach. So I did make a video on this recently, so you can definitely check that out if you want to see my full thoughts, but basically this thing is insane. At least if you are blessed by the RNG gods, that is. I really hate how you can only get 3 per week. I think that's just like the dumbest thing ever, but that's a story for a different video. Basically, this sniper has everything. It is 90 RPM, 40 zoom, it has a clean scope, has access to snapshot opening shot, it also has the stock where you can buff the handling. It just has extremely high stats. I mean, look at this roll here. You would have snapshot opening shot with 70 range and stability and 92 handling. Like 92 handling is insane. This thing is an absolute monster. It can also get snapshot elemental capacitor, which I really want for like an arc build and like a scrim or something. But yeah, good luck getting the roll you want. It's pretty much nearly impossible. I have heard that you can maybe delete your character and then like go back into comp to kind of farm it. I don't know. I haven't really looked into it, so definitely do some research before you delete a character to make sure that you actually can do that. But that just seems like a huge grind. Maybe if I get desperate enough by the end of the season, I may look into that. But anyway, I do think this is the best legendary sniper in the game if you are blessed by the RNG gods. So I do have it at 2 overall. Okay, so now we have the number 1 sniper in the game, which I'm sure many of you already know. It is the Cloudstrike. I mean, we all know what Cloudstrike does and why it's number 1. Now, as an actual sniper in itself, I don't think it's very good, like at all actually. Like if I was doing a 1v1, I would never use this thing. I don't think anyone ever would. I think it's actually kind of bad as a sniper. It doesn't have snapshot. It's a 140 RPM, but I mean, we all know it can just get multi kills like nothing else. I don't even think there's any heavy weapons that can really do what Cloudstrike does. You can instantly team wipe from across the entire map. Nothing else can do that. So I do think just because of that, it does have to be number 1. It also recently got a catalyst to buff its handling a bit. Throw that on with some like targeting mods and you can almost make up for snapshot. So as a sniper, like the handling is not great for me, so I don't always use it, but I can't deny it is number 1. There's a reason why it's like the hard meta right now, at least at the time of this video. I wouldn't be surprised if a nerf comes at some point, just because I do know that this is like, it's very popular, it's very annoying. Like I said, you can wipe the whole team from across the map. So because of all this, I'm going to put it at number 1. So that does it for my new sniper tier list. I really hope too many people don't really mind that I didn't like highlight the bottom 2 tiers, but as you guys can already tell, it's an extremely long video, so I hope everyone is okay with that. Again, if you really want to know about my thoughts on one of them, just ask me in the comments. At least for the first few days, I should be able to answer. Again, let me know how you guys would rank these. It is very subjective, so if you think one's different, like that's totally fine. Not saying that like mine is the absolute best. This is just my opinion as someone who has sniped a lot. If you are newer to the game, or if you're like trying to get into sniping, you definitely can't go wrong with anything in the top 2 tiers. So definitely scoop one of those up and give it a try. Anyway, I'm gonna wrap this up. This video did take me a bit of work here. It's kind of hard to put this together, especially since I don't do this full time. So any likes or subs are greatly appreciated. But with that, I'll see you guys next time.